There is more life within us than we can ever see. Trillions of living beings, unseen, unheard, yet without them, we could not exist. They live in our gut, shaping how we think, how we feel, how we heal. And yet, we rarely think of them at all. Today, we must, for if we wish to restore balance in our lives, we must begin where all balance begins, within. There comes a point in every journey of discovery when we must look inward, not just outward. In our search for cures, for strength, for vitality, we have often overlooked the most intimate ecosystem within us, the human gut. It is a world in miniature, a living universe of organisms that sustain us, communicate with our brain, and shape how we feel each day. To neglect it is to neglect the very foundation of our health. The truth is simple: our well-being begins in the gut, and the way we feed it determines whether we thrive or merely survive. Prebiotic foods are not a passing trend. They are a key that unlocks the dialogue between our body and the microbial life within us. When I speak of prebiotics, I speak not as a fad chaser, but as a man who believes in nature's quiet intelligence. The human body, after all, has evolved to coexist with these microscopic allies. They are not intruders, they are collaborators. They ask for nourishment, and in return, they build resilience, balance, and clarity within us. Prebiotics are the nourishment these allies need, the fibers and compounds that reach the colon undigested and become food for the beneficial bacteria that dwell there. They restore equilibrium in a world where imbalance is too common, where stress, processed foods, and antibiotics have thinned the diversity of our inner flora. It is no longer enough to speak about what not to eat. We must now ask what to restore. Chicory root, garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, oats, apples, flax seeds. These are not exotic miracles. They are humble gifts of nature. They have always been with us. What has changed is that we have forgotten their role. Each of these foods, rich in inulin, pectin, and resistant starch, provides the scaffolding upon which a healthy microbiome is built. In their presence, the beneficial bacteria multiply. They strengthen the gut barrier, regulate digestion, and influence even our mood and immunity. There is a larger lesson in this, a principle that extends beyond nutrition. Nature does not repair with force. It heals with nourishment, with patience, with continuity. The gut responds not to the drama of quick fixes, but to the rhythm of consistency. You cannot cheat nature, but you can align with it. Each prebiotic food we consume is an act of alignment, a small, conscious participation in the renewal of our internal harmony. As we look toward the future, I invite us all to remember that science and wisdom need not be separate. The microscope and the garden both tell the same story. Health is cooperation. To eat with awareness is to acknowledge that truth. If we can restore balance within our own bodies, perhaps we can remember what balance means in the world beyond us. The gut, in this sense, is not only biological, it is metaphorical, a reminder that all life, seen and unseen, depends on the nourishment we choose to share. When we speak of health, we often think of the heart, the brain, the lungs, the great organs that sustain life. Yet, beneath all of that, unseen and often unconsidered, lies a system that silently governs our strength, our mood, and even our immunity, the gut. Within it lives a vast community, trillions of microorganisms, each performing its role with quiet precision. They do not clamor for attention, yet they are indispensable. The secret to their vitality, and therefore ours, lies in something deceptively simple: prebiotic foods. These are not medicines. They are messages, signals sent to our internal ecosystem, reminding it how to thrive. We are learning, even now, not our health is not an isolated event within the body. It is a conversation. Every bite we take is part of that dialogue. Prebiotic foods are, in essence, the language of nourishment. They are not nutrients for us directly, but for the beneficial bacteria that serve us faithfully. In feeding them, we preserve diversity, balance, and resilience, qualities that define both biological and social systems alike. When we neglect these foods, we silence that conversation. Our inner ecosystem falters, and so does our vitality. The path back to balance does not require invention. It requires remembrance. Nature has already provided the answer in familiar forms: the fibrous roots of chicory and Jerusalem artichoke, the aromatic strength of garlic and onions, the delicate fibers of leeks and asparagus, the wholesome comfort of oats and apples, the quiet power of flax seeds and bananas. Each of these foods carries compounds like inulin, pectin, and resistant starches, substances our own enzymes cannot digest, but which become nourishment for the microbes that protect us. These foods are bridges between us and the invisible world within. Consider what happens when we include them in our lives. The gut becomes a fertile ground once more. Beneficial bacteria multiply, harmful strains retreat, and inflammation subsides. Digestion becomes more efficient, energy more stable. Even our thoughts make clear, for the gut and brain are not strangers. They are partners in the same human story. The science of this is compelling, but it is the philosophy that moves me most, the idea that harmony begins with cooperation, not competition. We must begin to see health not as a battle, but as an alliance. The prebiotic foods we eat are instruments of that alliance. They do not dominate or destroy. They nurture and sustain. And that is perhaps the deepest truth of biology, that life continues not through conquest, but through collaboration. So when you eat your next meal, pause for a moment. Think of it as a dialogue between you and the billions of lives that depend on your choices. Feed them wisely, and they will repay you in kind, with clarity, energy, and balance. In this quiet partnership lies the promise of lasting health, the kind that does not fade because it grows from within. There are moments in human understanding when we realize that progress is not found in inventing something new, but in seeing what has always been before us with new eyes. Such is the case with the human gut. For centuries, we have spoken of digestion as though it were merely mechanical, a system of intake and output. But now we know it is far more profound. It is a living network, a communication hub between mind and body, and the home of trillions of organisms that shape our health, mood, and immunity. When we disturb that network, our vitality weakens. When we nourish it wisely, it becomes our greatest ally. The key to this partnership lies in the foods we choose, especially those known as prebiotics. To understand prebiotics is to understand cooperation. These fibers and natural compounds found in everyday foods are not nutrients we absorb directly. Instead, they pass through us untouched until they reach the colon, where they become nourishment for the beneficial bacteria that reside there. In feeding them, we feed ourselves. These microorganisms, in turn, protect us from disease, strengthen our immunity, balance our digestion, and even influence our emotional well-being. The relationship is ancient, silent, and sacred, and yet we have too often forgotten it in our haste to modernize our meals. When we eat garlic, onions, leeks, chicory root, asparagus, oats, bananas, apples, flax seeds, or Jerusalem artichokes, we are doing something extraordinary without even realizing it. We are contributing to a living partnership that has sustained humanity since its beginning. Each of these foods provides the natural fibers that allow beneficial bacteria to flourish. Chicory root, rich in inulin, fosters the growth of bifidobacteria, key defenders of the gut. Garlic and onions bring sulfur compounds and prebiotic fibers that both flavor our food and fortify our inner ecology. The humble oat, long a staple of human diet, provides soluble fiber that supports gut balance and regulates blood sugar. Even the simple apple, familiar, overlooked, carries pectin that sustains beneficial microbes and keeps our digestion smooth. There is, within these natural processes, a lesson in humility. Nature requires no invention to restore balance, only attention. The body is not a machine to be repaired. It is a garden to be tended. Prebiotic foods are the soil's enrichment, the nourishment that ensures everything else can grow. If we ignore them, the soil turns barren. If we feed it, life flourishes. In our modern pursuit of quick fixes and synthetic solutions, we must remember this: healing does not always arrive in the form of something new. Sometimes it lies waiting in the oldest wisdom, in food grown from the earth, consumed with awareness. The health of our gut is the health of our whole being. To nurture it is to respect the balance that sustains all life. And when we honor that balance, we are not just restoring our digestion, we are reaffirming our connection to nature itself and the quiet intelligence that created us. Health is not given to us, it is cultivated by the choices we make. Each meal is a message to our body and to the invisible world within it. When you choose to nourish your gut, you are not following a trend, you are honoring a truth as old as life itself. Let us eat not only to live, but to live well.